Hello to each of you. Thank you for your invitation to the 17th Lumen conference. I will speak of mathematics as a knot of languages and make some variation on a theme by Bentham as the author of Christomatia. It is known that Bentham defined fiction as a language being of which the object was attributed existence by the author or the user of it. Most of the time, fiction is obtained by mounting a process. It's to say by attributing a name to a process, which is presented in spite of its fluctuation as a thing or as an object. So it is supposed that to make the fiction work, it is necessary that some beings or acts are not considered fictitious, but rather are real, and that the fictions are as if they were superstructures built upon a real base or on a base pretended to be real. The strata, which are built up in each superstructure, gradually recede from the basement, held as if it were in contact of things. It is also known that in each area inspected, law, ethics, religions, sciences, fictional functionings are observed. Mathematics are no exception. In Christomatia, that is a book that investigates what would be useful to be learned and to be taught to the members of a modern society for itself and for each of them, while witnessing, particularly in appendix number 8, an analysis of this discipline from this point of view. How to do in order to teach the very diverse intelligences that make up a society, which cannot be isolated from the other societies, to teach disciplines that suit modern society at the level that suits each individual. So, mathematics is scrutinized for usefulness in very different and intermingled senses. What is useful to be learned in a society is not necessarily the same thing for each other, and yet, for saying that a learning is more useful than another, it is necessary that these utilities be commensurable. The appendix number 8 sees this commensurability neither in the community of some character of human nature, nor in different psychological characters that end up combining with each other. But it sees this appendix, it sees it in the same belonging to language. Like law, ethics, religions, and the other disciplines, mathematics offers a wide variety of uses, including inside itself. Arithmetics, algebra, geometry, topology, the calculation of probabilities, whatever subjective probabilities or objective probabilities, require very different bundles of language uses, even if they can be considered as the arborescences of the same tree or of the same forest. Either the society of which there are citizens, men share mathematics as they share language, considered in its various languages and in its various uses within each of them. Properly speaking, mathematics has no self-existing objects that would allow everyone access, however diverse, like perception seems to relate to specific objects, if the object of perception exists in themselves in the way of given things without language. Its objects, the objects of mathematics, are not distinct and not independent from what may be laid by the speech acts like definitions, axioms, demonstration, reasonings. Therefore, the fictitious nature of these objects appears from the outset, even if we deal with objects that seem to have a sort of substantiality or particularly tough stability by themselves, like numbers, points, lines, arrays, volumes, and the acts that allow to relate to those objects. Everybody knows that such objects do not exist like minute color spots, like the edges of objects, like traces that would be continuous as they seem to be. So they can be taken for fiction. But among those fictions, some are in a way more so than others. We will particularly focus on the latter, that are fictions more than others. It is obviously not a question of listing them all. The matter will be to distinguish and to classify them, that is to say, to group them into sections, a fluxion or an infinitesimal are not fictions as a transcendent number that is, however, divisible to infinity. A fraction of certainty is not calculated as a quantity that may be added and that will then be made disappear in order to obtain a quadrature, some rectification or center of gravity. However, the idea that appeared as essential in Appendix 8 of Prestomatia on the question of fictions is less that of the classification than that of the interleaving of the sort of discourses that mathematics bring into play in order to pretend in some way to have an object. And especially in spite of the fallacious word of superstructure taken over from the essay on the history of civil society of Adam Ferguson, the way in which diverse discourses are linked together, such as any of them, whatever they may be symbolic, and it may be so in several modes, or more vulgar and of vernacular use, whatever it may be, verbal or more intuitive, be alternatively fundamental in the function of a base or supported by that base. It might be that the most important fiction introduced by the field of mathematics, by Prestomatia, so that it can be disseminated in other areas through this structure which allows free uses of language, free languages perhaps, to coexist without one dominating definitely the others, but in such a way that we have to try the whole set of languages as you try keys. The languages in mathematics might be linked like Borromean rings, so that you could not change anyone, and particularly break one, without changing the others, and particularly without freeing them from each other. I hope that my purpose will be suitable for this colloquium, which is not only intended for researchers in history of mathematics or in epistemology of mathematics, but also to teachers from pre-university education system. Thank you.